Hey world, and welcome back to Stuff We Do, where we do all the knife stuff you love. Knife reviews, knife tests, knife modifications, and outdoor stuff with knives. Today we are looking at two of my favorite, well, these are not really the original knives. These are more like, I don't know, most likely Chinese or somewhere else, knockoffs of two extremely well-known knives. The first one we are going to talk about will be this one, the LAGUIOLE knife. Okay. Actually, this one, the beautiful specimen we have here in front of us, has got a normal slip joint back spring, but the shape looks quite correct. So this is most likely something between a legit LAGUIOLE knife and something like a Spanish fruit knife, because of that shape. It's a very noticeable shape, extremely long, thin blade, and then the curved handle. This is like a fishing knife, but I had it for years, and at some stage I broke the little tip over here for the hook extractor. It's got a cap lifter and then the fish scaler. Okay. Nice wood handles with beautiful brass bolsters at the top and at the bottom. Okay, like I said, this is quite a long knife. This thing is 23 centimeters or 9 inches long. So it's quite a big knife, not your normal everyday pocket knife. Okay, so it's quite a big thing. LAGUIOLE is actually not a brand of knife. It's a little province or a little town, area in France where the name comes from. Initially, people believed that these knives were based on the Spanish knives, but it's actually not. It came on its own. But like I said, this is not a true example of the LAGUIOLE knife, because the LAGUIOLE knife has something they call, if I remember correctly, lamouche, which is well, it doesn't have to be a little fly, it means fly, but it's the, what do you call it, a little tab at the top that works with the spring. Okay. And later on they started decorating that in the shape of flies and bees and things like that, but initially it was just a little button or a little tab over here. Okay, so this one, normal slip joint, normal back spring like we normally have. Okay, that's pretty much the only thing I want to say about this guy. Now we get into one of my favorite pocket knife shapes of all times, the BARLOW. Okay, now BARLOW knives were, okay, this also doesn't have any, what do you call it, markings on the blade, so we can assume that it was made in China, because whenever we have a knife without any markings on it, it's safe to assume it came from there. Still, extremely solid little knife. Also something that I actually bought a lot of vintage knives from somewhere, and I got this in there. So like I said, not sure where it comes from, but a wonderful little knife. I actually carried this for a while. Okay, some history. In the late 1600s in England, the first BARLOW knives were made, or BARLOW shaped knives were made, because BARLOW refers to the actual shape of the knife. Okay, so they were made in England, late 1600s in Sheffield, and back then Sheffield, after the First World War, Sheffield was considered to be one of the best blade manufacturers or blade manufacturing places in the world. But the BARLOW knife never actually became famous in England. In America, John Russell Cutlery in 1785, they started producing these things, but mass producing them. Industrial Revolution and so forth. Okay. This knife had a slogan. It was a blade so cheap a child could buy it. Their aim, the Russell Company, their aim was to get one of these into the pocket of every person in America. Okay. A few examples of influential people or characters that owned these. George Washington, you can still see his pocket knife in, I'm going to lie to you, some other museum. And then Abe Lincoln had one. I'll tell you the story now. Huck Finn and the Adventures of Tom Sawyer. In both of those books, they speak about this knife, or about a Barlow knife at least. Okay, so this shape is truly an American icon. Okay, the Abe Lincoln story is actually quite nice, so I want to share that with you. Apparently, it was like a little anecdote that he used to tell to people. He said he was going somewhere and a guy came up to him, and the guy said, "Here, I want to give you this pocket knife because I was gifted this pocket knife by my village." And then you would say something like, "But why?" And he said, "No, I got this knife and they said that I must give it away as soon as I find somebody uglier than myself." And then Abe would take out his knife to show to everybody. So, okay, I thought that was quite a nice little story. Okay, extremely inexpensive. The previous ones, or the initial ones, the first ones they made, had no decorations whatsoever. It was just wood with a big bolster. And then variations of this. You can find tons and tons of Barlow knives out there made by lots of different companies. Whatever style or whichever one you choose, it's an extremely workable, functional shape. It's a tool. It was never intended to be a weapon. Barlow knives. Hope you learned something. Stay safe, happy, and have a good one. Bye-bye.